morning. Please excuse my voice. I'd like to call to order the City of St. Hedwig City Council meeting for December 1st, approximately 7:32. First item will be a roll call. Councilman Hedwig.
Here.
Councilman Beck.
Here.
Councilman Francovia.
Here.
Councilman Beatrick.
Here.
Councilman Hammond.
Here.
Have one. All right. If you all would please rise.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor one state, one and indivisible.
All right. The first item that we will start with is a presentation for the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo Ambassador.
I don't really need a microphone.
Whatever makes you comfortable.
Okay, well, I'm gonna speak.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for allowing Mark and I to attend on behalf of the San Antonio Rodeo. We are volunteers of the Ambassador Committee, and I, just to give you a little bit of my background, I've been with the rodeo for over 12 years. I've been a volunteer, a life member, a secretary on our committee, as well as this year's director, meaning I have a lot more work, right? But we, as part of the Ambassador Committee, we like to come to different civic organizations and explain our mission. And our mission is to educate the youth of Texas in agriculture. And to give you a little bit of the things that we do as part of our mission is to do scholarships. And we've been giving out scholarships since 1984. We've been doing rodeos since 1949. But since 1984, we have given out $232 million in scholarships, whether that's donations, sponsorships, all of that pulled together, we've given that much in scholarships. Now, what you may think of when you think of rodeo and agriculture, you may think animals, but we do a lot more with the scholarships. So if you have kids, grandkids, neighbors, anybody that may be interested in agriculture, Western art, horse, we do robotics, ag mechanics, we do landscaping, baking, public speaking. There's so many ways a child can get a scholarship these years, but I know most people relate rodeo with animals, but it's way bigger than that. And so we come here asking you guys, well, first of all, how many of you have been to the rodeo, San Antonio Rodeo? How many of you been? So a lot of people. What are some of the things that you enjoy?
Food. Whiskey.
Right. You're absolutely right. And you may be wondering, maybe you don't have kids that would benefit from a scholarship, but how can you contribute? And one of the things that you contribute is, one, just go. Go to the rodeo. Go to the grounds, spend some money, buy a hot dog, eat, drink whiskey. We do have beer, craft beer. We have wine. We have the rodeo show. We host, if you look at my jacket, we host a Star Experience. Has anybody done the Star Experience here? Does anybody know what this Dwayne has? Anybody know what it is besides Dwayne? What is it?
Okay, so you pay the extra to get a meal, and then you get to go down onto the dirt.
Right.
Sit in the chairs.
Right.
Next to the stars.
Next to the stars. It's exactly that. You do pay a premium price. It's last year we started doing the first 2 rows were $225, and then the second, and you're guaranteed the first 2 rows, and then the second 2 rows were $200. But that's, like you said, it comes with the meal. You have special seating to watch the rodeo. You get VIP treatment. We treat you like kings and queens as you're there at the rodeo. And then when it comes down to the concert, we take you down literally through the back, through, where the dirt is, where the cowboys are. You may see some cowboys, you may even see an artist or two. But we take you where you're sitting around the rotating stage and you get to have prime seating for the concert. Now, we are one of the few, if maybe the only one, that does not require our rodeo participants to pay the entry fee, and part of that money helps do that. But I'm going to pass it over to Mark just for a few minutes, because he's going to talk about something that's very new this year in reference to the rodeo.
Yes, we have the Pro Rodeo Qualifier at the Valley Fairplex. It's the first ever PRCA, WPRA, and it is going to be an event. Qualifiers obviously will be able to participate at the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo, and that's from February 9th through the 14th. It's going to be a really awesome event.
It's January 9th.
I'm sorry, January 9th through the 14th.
Yeah. Rodeo is February 9th through the 26th. But that's a very exciting event that's going to be first time this year. You will see us out there. We'll be ushering, hosting, and just being very involved with that. So that's also an opportunity for you to participate. And every dollar that you spend, whether it's a beverage, a hot dog, going to the carnival, or just being on the grounds, a show, all of that contributes to that $232 million of scholarship. So I can go on and on and on and tell you a lot about the rodeo, but I want to give you an opportunity to ask us questions. No questions, but another way you can get involved is also volunteer. Whether it's for, we have 42 committees, 6,000 volunteers, and we have all different kinds. We do outreach. We have a souvenir committee that sells official merchandise. We have someone here who's a part of the raffle ticket committee. We have the horse committee, calf committee. We have the wine and the beer, and we have
Wildlife Committee.
Wildlife. We have, there's
Gastronomy.
so many. If you like golfing, there's a golf committee. If you like going to the ball, there's a Go Rodeo. There is something for everybody, and every committee has their own requirements. So I'm not going to tell you, you have to attend so many meetings, you have to do this, you have to do that. But if you love a passion for, just being a part of our leaders of tomorrow, in a crazy world now. So I always say, let's put some work and effort into our youth, because we know that they're our future's leaders of tomorrow.
Julie,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to add something to that, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Sometimes people think of rodeo, they think of going to this event where there's an entertainer and all of that. That is a true part of the rodeo, but the other part is just simply the ground.
Right.
All of the things they have available to see, to do, to watch, the ground. Walking through the show horns and seeing those kids, that is the most heartwarming part for me of the rodeo, their behavior, all that they put into these animals. And also, if you watch the website, a lot of times, they give away free passes, free ground passes. So you pick up a pass and go do the grounds and just have as good an evening as you could if you were going to the actual concert.
Well,
or
funny
rodeo.
you should say that. We will be leaving some grounds passes with Maria, and she's going to, we've given them all for all of you guys, but she has extras to hand out to however you feel, maybe whoever asks the best question or who says, I don't know. But that is a very good point. And just going on to the grounds, there's so much, like you said. And when COVID happened, we were the one and only rodeo that actually the show had to go on. But we had to do a lot of different things. And we set the precedent for a lot of other rodeos, Houston Rodeo and all the other big rodeos. And one of the things we did, we tried a lot of things. And one of the things was horse show in the Joe. Well, we actually did the show in the Joe and Harry Freeman. We learned a lot. So although we couldn't open it up to the general public, what we did learn is that we got a lot of people in that Joe and Harry Freeman Coliseum. So now we do the horse shows in there. We also have introduced the ranch rodeo, which is a part of that. That's a really great, fun show where, ranchers compete against each other. And then we also, if you aren't able to get a ticket to the actual show, because we have a lot of great entertainers this year, and it will not surprise me if we sell out. One of the things that we did in one of the expo centers, one of the big centers, we now streamlined the rodeo. So you can sit in there, eat, drink, be merry, and there'll be some live music, but they'll stream the whole rodeo every night. So you get to see it for free. Once you're on the grounds, there's so much to see. So we encourage you to come visit. Like I said, every dollar you do, you spend contributes to that scholarship fund, and that's one of the reasons why I love being a part of it. Is it's really heartwarming, and I want to do my contribution, as I'm sure all of us do as well. So thank you for having us. I'll just open it up just in case there's any additional questions.
Did you talk about some of the pre-rodeo events,
The-
like cowboy breakfast?
So, yes, we have, Cowboy Breakfast is not an official,
Yes.
but it is, it kicks off the rodeo. We also have the Stampede 5K, which is a whole week-long event. It's a Western Heritage event. And they do a cattle drive through downtown San Antonio. They have a 5K, and then they end it with the Vaquero Cook-Off. And they'll have live music, vendors. I think they do a menudo. They do borracho beans. They do various cook-offs in that. And what else do we do? Well, we're doing
Mutton busting within the rodeo itself.
yeah, in the rodeo itself. They actually do that on the grounds now too. And just like, it's like a little mini qualifier to go into the rodeo, but Dwayne, you're talking about even before February 9th. We have the barbecue cook-off that's really big. There's lots. So just, if you're interested in anything that I've shared, sarodeo.com is where you can get a lot of information. And it'll also list all the different entertainers, but some really good ones this year, just off the top of my head. Dwight Yoakam, Alabama, Lee Bryce, Tracy Bird,
Ronnie Millsap.
Ronnie Millsap, yes, an oldie but goodie. Well, that's what I say,
Gary
Alabama. Gary Allen, yes. And we have something for everybody. We have the Tigres and Norte, which is for the Tejano population, and that one and Leonard Skinner are the first two that are almost sold out. And then we do a hip hop night with Nelly, and usually we do a Christian, but I don't know what Christian one is. But there's something for everybody. So we hope to see your faces there. And again, thank you for having us. And we've left you some things in the Maria. Whoever does the best dance, song, the best question, how do you want to do it?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And well, this is the first time we've been here, so we really appreciate you allowing us to be here. Look forward to a future visit as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next item, Councilman Franklin, we have to keep it on after that. We'll do public comments. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per citizen. We ask that you give your name and address when you come up. We only have one I see tonight, and that is Ms. Foster.
Wonderful, loss at 13810 Midway. After last week's meeting, I've been thinking about this, last month's meeting, and I keep asking myself, as a city, are we doing a good job of letting our citizens know what's going on? And to me, it's real easy for me to say, well, they should be here anyway, but they're not. And the trouble has been when we started talking about the burn ban last week, it seemed as simple as Mr. Soto said, all we needed was an ordinance that said we could burn. And before the evening was over, we was like 4 or 5 pages of criteria. So I got the part about having had a burn ban, if that's the law. But when we started getting into the criteria for a city that's as rural oriented as we are, which would be a major change for a city, I don't think I don't know how it's gonna end up tonight, but we gotta do a good job of letting our citizens know they might be here for things like that. So I just feel like we're not doing a good job of telling the citizens what, the ordinances that are going into place, especially if they're gonna change the way the citizens have to behave.
And just again, as a factual response to that, we do make sure that, one of the requirements is that when the agenda is posted, it can't be just a line that says burn. It has to give some description so people can look at the agenda, and that's why it has to be put out several days ahead of time. So people do have an opportunity to look at that and say, this is an item that I might be interested in doing. So just to your point, Lee, there is that avenue available for them to look at the agenda and see what's on there.
And I realized that, because when we got into that last month, we were talking about acreage requirements, temperatures, and all that kind of stuff, and that was a big factor when our first computer discussion on that.
Thank you very much. All right, next item is the consent agenda. We have two items, the city council minutes from November 3rd. In front of you, there are the unapproved minutes. You have those in your packet, and we've had an opportunity to look at those. And then the financial report is also behind that. Those two items are up for approval at this time.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, any questions, comments, or concerns about any of these items? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda? Opposed? Hearing none, the two items are approved. All right, next is reports from our various departments and entities. So we'll start with City Park report. Anything on City Park, sir?
No, other than everything looks very festive for Christmas.
Everything looks very festive up there, yes it does. All right, road report, sir. Okay. Planning and zoning, in front of you is the report from the PNC meeting on November 5th. You want to take a look at those for a moment? So I see on there, Ms. Vlasic, that you have a question, a legal question regarding form and format. Is this something that you would like us to move up to the legal counsel?
Yes, it's probably gonna be an easy answer for them. We just wanted to know that.
Okay, I don't want to put counsel on the spot since this is the first one.
Right, exactly.
But I will pass this over to her and give her an opportunity if she wants to comment or not, or if she wants to have time to research those two.
And that's perfectly fine. She can get back to you and let us know at the next opportunity.
Okay. All right. Marshal's office.
Madam Mayor, Council, monthly report for the month of November from the Marshal's office. Deputy Marshal conducted a total of 259 traffic stops, issuing 182 citations and 164 warnings. Deputies responded to 35 calls for service, conducted 202 security checks on area releases and residents, and completed 4 arrests for the month of November. We continue to expand our personnel. We have put on 1 deputy We did appoint one deputy for last month, and we are currently looking at appointing 2 more. So quite possibly we will be presenting the council in January. We have continued on our journey to get equipment for the office, get all that established. We have changed some communication equipment for the office. Several months ago, I had spoken to council about the expenditures as far as what it would cost to obtain communications for the patrol units and the deputies. It was going to cost upwards of around $30,000 to do that. I continue to hunt for equipment, and we were able to find the equipment that we needed for the unit, as well as handheld communication devices, and we saved approximately $14,000 in doing so. So that was a substantial difference in what we initially thought we were going to be spending to acquire that equipment. Other than that, thankfully everything continued going smoothly. We continue to receive a positive response from the community and our businesses, and look forward to the next 2 years.
How many deputies do you have now?
Currently, not including myself, 9.
Of those 9, are those full-time? Any of those full-time or
Only 2.
2?
Only 2.
On the 7 that are part-time,
Yes, sir.
that I guess kind of volunteer?
Not part-time, they are technically volunteer.
Volunteer.
On an auxiliary basis, yes,
To keep their
sir.
commissions, right? How much time a month does each one do on average?
At the minimum, 16 hours a month. 2 minimum.
So 2 days?
Yes, sir.
Are they doing much more than that, or just the 2 days?
Some of them are.
Okay.
Some of them aren't. Some of them will volunteer their time for special events, such as what we have going on Saturday. That is not a required time, that is a public event, a civic event. So they would not be actually doing anything, they would be here to meet and greet the public and show the presence, show support for the community. Some of them also attend other meetings and trainings that are necessary for the department and bring that information and that education back to the department. They're doing that on their own time as well. So that's what we say at a minimum. They are on the road patrolling 16 hours a month. That's the requirement.
Okay.
Any questions? You guys will stay for anything new in the public safety task force.
Not this time.
Okay, thank you very much. On the mayor's office report, not a lot of activity. Again, continue to participate in the ANEP, the Northeast Partnership. And on December 8th at the next meeting, I will be giving a presentation on mass fatality management for elected officials, if anyone is interested in attending that. That's all I have at this time. Next up is city manager's report.
Good evening. I read my report, but I forgot to mention that the mayor and I met with Sonia Jimenez from the Alamo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization to see what they can do for our city. They're usually helping small cities in that area. And one of the things that came about from that meeting was they're going to help us update our zoning map free of charge. So that is going to be a good savings for the city. The other thing I'm required to take a training on finances, and the class is scheduled for next week. It was a $200 class plus expenses on my travel. I received a scholarship to cover all my expenses from TML, so that was a very good thing that happened. And that's basically it. We almost done with the decorations to be ready for Saturday. I started with 2 benches and ended up with 2 nice elves. Thank you to Mr. Kidd and our city secretary. If you see the lobby, it's amazing. And outside the Christmas tree, it looks fabulous. So I'm very pleased and very thankful for their help. Any questions on my report?
Compliance report? Can we ask questions?
Yeah, last
The only one I have this month is number 10. Whenever I see construction company calling and then asking about a storage building, I ask myself, is that a business? Do we know if that's a business or not?
Supposedly not, but we're still checking on that. As soon as it goes up, we'll do inspections. And if it's a business, it can be just to store their computer items or things like that, that's allowed in the zoning ordinance. But we'll be keeping an eye on that. Any other questions?
I don't believe we have anything additional from the city engineer. So I do have, in your package, you do have a letter from him, and it just gives an update on what's in progress as far as the trail map. And they're working on some plats that they've received off of the Pittman subdivision. So he's just kind of letting us know the things that he's working on for situational awareness. And we're also looking at potentially having 6S help us with a review of the city master plan. We had asked Bryce if he would look at that. He's not had an opportunity to give us a bid on that, and we would like to really move forward with that. So we're looking elsewhere for a bid for the review of the city master plan if Bryce is unable to assist us with that. And that's about all that I have on this report, unless anybody has any questions. All right, next item. Now, I know that you have in front of you an ordinance, and it looks just like the ordinance that I brought to you the last time, and that's because it is. I'm not asking you to review this ordinance again. This is a placeholder so that you all know what we talked about last time. As I understand it, the concern that the council had was attempting to put in a burn ordinance, not a burn ban, but a burn ordinance that was overly cumbersome, had too many.
Point of information, I think we're on the boarding facility.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I did jump ahead of myself. Excuse me. Thank you very much for, thank you. You are correct. On the last meeting, we had a special use permit that we had, that the council approved. And I think, Ms. Hernandez, you just wanted to follow up with let the council know about a tracking process?
Yes, this will be a tracking process of having an ordinance. So what's already approved is just formality to have an ordinance, to be able to be tracking and to give them something. 10 years from now, they're gonna say, oh, I had a special use permit, and if we're not here, nobody knows if they really have a special use permit.
So we need to, can we just make a file and put special use permit, and put everything in there, or have a map that shows?
One of the issues that we bumped into with permits is records retention. And so the idea when somebody is granted this kind of use is we want to have a form of permanent record. And an ordinance is one of the documents that is actually a permanent record for the city. And so it's just the easiest way to be able to track permits and such, because otherwise permits themselves, after X period of time, they can expire, or under your record retention, you're no longer required to keep them. But for a land use permit in this type of action, it's just the easiest way that we have found to track them. And everybody's real familiar. You just got to keep ordinances forever.
So we're going to do an ordinance every time you have a special use permit?
Is
that
like double work.
Is that required, or is that just suggested?
It is strongly recommended, that's what I will say. There is not a local government entity that I know of that does not track their special use permits via ordinance.
But we're not gonna address it in two separate meetings. When we bring everything together for y'all to approve the the special use permits, we also gonna bring together the ordinance already.
So when we approve the special use permit, that puts the ordinance in place. Yes.
So what's our organizational method gonna be to differentiate an ordinance for a special use permit versus an ordinance for like a master plan or an ordinance for a subdivision? Because to me, it feels like we're gonna lose some ordinances that we want to be readily accessible in our system, because we do everything in chronological date right now on the website. If we're gonna have ordinance for potentially several hundred or several thousand properties that have special use permits, it seems like it's gonna be very cumbersome to find those more general ordinances than obviously some.
So administratively, y'all are not codified, so that's an issue y'all have, period. Is being able to track your ordinances, and so you just have to administratively find some way to be able to create a
Separate file.
a tracking system of your ordinances, because currently, as far as I know, I don't know if you have to keep like a log of ordinances so that you can just run down the list and index them, but it's definitely something that's gonna have to be given some consideration.
Can we do these ordinances like for special use permits, can we give them a certain prefix and number? for the special use?
Absolutely, however y'all want to remember that, I mean, it could be, SUP, 2022 dash one, and dash two.
So that they make more sense when you look down and realize that it's a special use permit ordinance.
And then we can put it on the website, different places where we don't lose, like our master plan, we don't lose our subdivision ordinance, and so now there's potentially running ordinance.
Makes sense? All right. Yeah, we can work on that, system and, come up with something that might be a little more clarifying. So we do need to go ahead and,
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 2022-30.
Second.
any questions, comments, or concerns? All in favor of approving ordinance number 2022 to allow a, detached garage for indoor boarding facility for small animals? Those opposed? Hearing none, ordinance number 2002-30 is passed. Next item, make sure it's in the right order, is resolution 2022-02R, approval of the certified tax roll. And in front of you, you have a letter from Mr. Aresti, our tax assessor, and this is a resolution to adapt to accept the tax roll. You want to take a minute to look at that?
So I can say the certified tax roll in October, this still is not the final number, because I know personally my protest hearing didn't occur until well after October 1st, so stand for my previous comments when I was talking about these numbers that we're getting from Perry County or numbers in there, but they're close to what they're gonna be, but they're still gonna go up, and be a higher dollar figure than what they are now.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2022-02-R.
Second.
All right, and your comment was noted. Any additional comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting the resolution number 2022-02 for the certified tax roll? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so you're not opposed, and the resolution passes. All right. Again, going back again to the burn ordinance. You have in front of the draft that I had submitted last meeting as a suggested language, and y'all discussed the fact that you felt that we were being overburden the citizens with all of the different items in here. And one of the things that you asked was that would you please go and look at other cities and determine what it is that they do, what is comparison. So the 5 cities that we were able to look at, and this is what you have in front of you, the bullet points. And I didn't think you wanted to read 5 different many-page ordinances, so I just wanted to do a summary. China Grove said they just followed their county. The burn ban is listed, residents call, give their name and address and an email, so if somebody asks if there was a burn, and then they burn. There's no permitting involved, that's it.
That's during a burn ban or
So
not during?
if the burn ban is lifted, so they follow Bear County. If Bear County
Because-
says that there's no burn ban, then they
Because
permit.
Bear County, when there's not a burn ban, you don't need permits.
Correct, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
The only reason my understanding is that China Grove's had to call is to let them know, hey, I'm burning at such and such a place, so somebody doesn't mistake it for fire. That's the only rationale I can think of for them to
So
do.
what do they do during the burn ban?
You can't burn during the burn ban.
Even if Bear County website says you can burn from 8 to 12 on a certain day?
No, you're not fine. They follow whatever Bear County says. If Bear County says today's a burn day, you can burn. If it's a burn ban, you can't burn that day in China
So
Grove.
that brings up a question though, so,
Yeah.
the initial question, so if there's a burn ban,
Uh-huh.
and it's burned by permit only by Bear County,
Oh, wait,
we, Bear County, because we're a city, can't issue us a permit,
right.
right? This is during the burn ban, so what do? Do they just not burn, or does the city issue a permit?
Nobody issues a permit, there's not a requirement to issue a permit. So, just for clarification, Matt, so, Marshall Solo talked with the folks from TCEQ, and basically, and if I'm saying this incorrectly, please correct me, they basically said that by having an ordinance that permits you to burn during days when you can burn, that's the permit.
But that's what we're asking, when there's a burn ban, you're not supposed to burn unless the conditions allow you to by permit only.
Right.
When there's not a burn ban, there's no permits.
Right, there's no permit.
So we're asking what China Grove does during a burn ban when Bear County says, like they did last week, for a couple of days, you can burn from 8 to 12.
They did not get into
Yeah,
those specifics.
right.
They simply said they follow Bear County's burn ban, and if it's lifted, residents just call, give them the name, and that's the all information I have.
So, okay.
I mean, you can look into that further if you want, but that's what they had to tell us. Livonia does not allow burning in the city, period. Santa Clara said it has a resolution, not an ordinance, and the resolution is that they follow Guadalupe County regulations. If some, go like Bear County, if somebody in Santa Clara wants to burn, they call Guadalupe County, and they look at them. New Berlin, they have an ordinance, and it looks very much like the one that I gave you all before, and had all of the different requirements, and it was very extensive. And then Elmendorf allows for burning, but they rest the authority to issue or lift burn bans with the mayor. So as you can see, there's quite a variety of different processes out there for an open burning ordinance.
So basically, Santa Clara is the way we used to be a couple of months ago.
Correct.
And China Grove is the way we used to be a couple of months ago, except for when anybody burns, they let the city know. It's not a permit,
It's
it's
not, it's
FYI.
just, yeah, FYI.
Did they say what they're gonna do, since they just now, earlier this year, passed the newest ESD, which is in China Grove, what they're gonna do when that?
And I didn't talk
Comes
to
in the
China
fall.
Grove, so I can't help you.
They're just starting their ESD up now, it just passed, I think it's number 13, ESD 13. Okay.
Livonia kind of doesn't fit, because
No.
the city is, it's really small. Yeah, so the actual
Very
city,
small.
Right.
yeah, the actual city limits, so.
So basically, we have the opportunity to do what we feel, or what the council feels works best for St. Hedwig. And there's not any state level or TCQ requirements that you have to have this language, do this, etc. Other than as Marshall Soto said, that TCQ said that by having it permitted in the ordinance, you don't need to give out permits for burning.
So what I continue to struggle with, it was mentioned by a citizen earlier tonight. Prior to 2 meetings ago, and just because of the way it used to be doesn't mean that's the way it has to be, I get that. But we have an ESD that we pay a tax to that actually has revenue over 3 times the size of our budget. That's important to remember. 3 times. We have Bear County that used to facilitate all this, that we pay tons of taxes, to your point. And all of a sudden, we're asked to change. I get the fact that until tonight, unless we don't decide something, we can inform the citizens of what we're going to do moving forward. But until 2 meetings ago, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is all new.
Yeah.
Because of Bear County. So this is what I struggle with. The local fire ESD doesn't want to help facilitate. Bear County doesn't want to any longer help facilitate. Why can't we, at least as a city, get a protocol or rules of engagement? Because to what Wanda said, we're used to the way it used to be, but it's very confusing now. And now it's becoming more confusing because I don't even know who's supposed to do what the chain of command is, what the protocol is, what the rules of engagement are. We pay tons of tax money to these entities, which are fire entities, not municipalities. And we're struggling as citizens, me included, as to what's the local fire folks supposed to do, what's the county fire folks, because as you just mentioned, in Guadalupe County, they facilitate municipalities. So what I would like to see, and I don't want to delay this any longer, because I know there's folks that, and by the way, I want to mention fire, burning in this community, ranching and farming, it's a 7-day-a-week deal. It's not Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And when you start talking about permitting, you're talking about somebody that has to be here all the time, and then somebody that's going to rely on the conditions. Is it wet enough? What's the wind conditions, all that. Permitting aside, every morning, whether it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday through Friday, you can, as I mentioned last month, you can pop that website, like last Friday, Councilman Beck, I think it was 8 to 12 in the morning, something like that.
They do that a lot,
So-
but it has to be out by noon.
That's that, and then one time it was all day. But, and that's one reason why I don't think the city should get in the permitting business. I don't think the city should be in the fire business, period. We've got enough stuff to do. But at the very least, I think we need from somebody, hopefully from Bear County, I'd love to see rules of engagement, a protocol, or who answers to who. Because I think everybody will agree, at least to this point, we thought the local ESD was under the Bear County umbrella. Agree with that?
And that's our understanding.
Yeah.
And it's been a very long time ago, I will grant that we've had conversations with the ESD. They have said, if you want us to do enforcement or things like that, then you need to, get an MOU with us. And we certainly can look to that if that issue is enforcement of things like burning. But I'm not sure that that's germane to the actual issue at this moment. And I take your point, Councilman, that it would be better conversations with their county if we could understand what they saw their role as, what they don't see their role as here. They've been clear that they don't see their role as coming out and enforcing the burn bans in this area. But I understand your point. But to the point of the ordinance itself, perhaps there is some easier language that states that our position is that we allow burning in the city of St. Hedwig following burn bans that are issued by fire marshals in Bear County. So if you go online to Bear County and it says burning today from 8 to 12, then it's wise for us to do that here. But again, we don't need to issue permits because the ordinance is the permit. And perhaps that provides easier language and less,
Well, that kind of confused me for a bit. Yeah, I agree. To do what Bear County wants and everything, but when they say by permit only, I thought the issue was, they weren't gonna issue a permit. But where there's a permit to anybody in St. Hedwig, is where we just call it. So where does that permit lie in St. Hedwig? So like,
in the ordinance. Just by saying that we have an ordinance that allows you to permit, that is the permit.
but when they're saying by permit only, it's, they're evaluating that situation that you're burning. Am I not wrong?
No, it's, to me, it's just attractive.
Just
Because
attractive.
we've had citizens out here when they're burning in the past, if ESD comes to check out the fire, they ask for your permit number that we used to get from Red County.
Okay, all right.
So correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's more of a tracking device similar to what China Grove's doing. But on a
Because
more
when you give them
official-
that information, they don't say, you're in St. Hedwig versus
So-
China Grove, you can't burn here. They just say, you let us know, okay.
I'm a little confused then. So if there's no burn ban, you don't need a permit.
Yes, if you go on the Bear County website, and it says burning is permitted in Bear County, you burn.
Okay. And then now if there's a burn ban, we can burn?
By
By permit.
on certain days, if the conditions are right, if you pull up that website, the top part says burn ban.
Yeah.
If it's not a burn ban, it won't have anything up there.
Right.
Then it'll say you can burn from 8 to 12
Right.
all day, but during a burn ban, on the very bottom of that, if you pull it up, it'll say by permit only.
Right.
During a burn ban.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then it goes one step further, it says contact the county fire marshal to get the permit. Basically, when you contact
Yeah.
them, the protocol used to be, you just called the counties,
Right.
want a
Okay.
clear number, you give them your address, you said, I'm burning at this address, and that's all there was to it. There was no permit number, there was
Right.
nothing, you
It
just
was
called,
just a
said,
tracking.
I'm burning at this address, so.
And the greater issue became that without this, we default to state law, which says if you don't have an ordinance allowing burning, you can't burn, which is not obviously what we want in the city.
So I like that suggestion. We just follow Bear County. Yeah.
So I did look earlier this week and I kind of studied the Bear County website a little bit, and I would like to offer up a suggestion that we say burning in St. Hedwig's allowed in accordance with the Bear County Fire Marshal. They have rules for outdoor burning. It's a little 2-page document. We just reference that. That way we don't have to update this ordinance every time they change the rules a little bit. I'd also like to say that we say burning's allowed in the city of St. Hedwig only during times burning is allowed as shown on Bear County Marshal's website. We used to get a permit through Bear County by calling and saying we're burning at this address. So I say that we also keep that rule in place in this ordinance. We say if Bear County Fire Marshal's website designates the need of a permit to burn, contact Bear County Fire Marshal's office, and the city of St. Hedwig will not require or issue any permits for burning. Those are my suggestions of things I would like to see if we did an ordinance.
The only thing I will tell you is I had 3 citizens call me just last week when they called Bear County in this situation, which is exactly like you did. They say, it's a city, you gotta call the city. And so that's the only thing that scares me a little bit, because I love everything else that you're suggesting, but I'm telling you, after we pass this ordinance, if that actual situation or circumstances is there, Bear County will say, this is a St. Hedwig. And we also have folks, I'm not going to get in specifics, but somebody talked to me face-to-face Tuesday, and they were burning Friday, and they had somebody from the ESD said, because they were asking just to become educated, and they said, that's a city problem. And that's all we said. So you're going to get that pushback from the locals and from the county. I'm just saying that's a gray area. But everything else is.
Right, and I firmly agree with you that we as a city, we do not have a fire department, and we are not in the fire business, so we don't have any right to say you can burn, you can't burn. We're not out there able to control a fire if a fire gets out of its hands. So I firmly agree as well that we don't need to be involved in that decision. If it's today a day that we can burn or not.
That was
I
my
think,
point, too.
I think that's the biggest
Qualified.
thing. Yeah, like you're saying, we need to get Bear County on board. So if we did a ordinance as we proposed, we need to get someone from Bear County to say, yes, since we would have an ordinance in place and we service this area, that we will issue the permits.
No, I'm sorry, but that's what I'm trying to explain.
Marshall said, Madam Mayor,
Councilman, speaking with TCQ, with the mayor is trying to explain, the permit, the actual permit side of it, does not have to